This is a strange locked room. Just press a switch on the wall, and various things randomly pop out, like a vase, or some sushi, and such switches cover the entire wall. Jack's goal is to open a door, otherwise he'll be trapped here forever. It's just like opening mystery boxes, because you never know what will pop out next. Although this place is constantly full of surprises, Jack feels no joy whatsoever. He now only thinks about escaping. Then he eagerly pressed one of the switches, but only a toothbrush popped out. Now even toiletries are provided. It seems they don't intend to let him leave, but he didn't get discouraged, and continued to press another switch. This time a loudspeaker popped out. He couldn't understand. What use could this have? Was it because his cries for help were too quiet? But he shouted loudly, and nobody responded. Jack had no choice but to continue opening mystery boxes. Unexpectedly, this time a potted plant fell out. He was extremely disappointed. The items coming out were becoming increasingly useless. Next, he pressed a fourth switch, and a large vase popped out. Looking at these random objects on the floor, Jack was furious, but he could only helplessly continue opening mystery boxes. This time it was a pair of chopsticks. Seeing this, he couldn't take it anymore. Then he began pressing switches continuously, venting his frustration. When he saw chopsticks continuously popping out of the wall, he instead became more and more excited, and he played like this for a full half hour. Before reluctantly stopping to press other switches. Who knows how much time passed? The room was filled with supplies Jack had opened, but without exception they were all useless things. In anger, he threw the balloon in his hand, which happened to hit a switch. This time sushi popped out. He quickly went forward. At last something edible. After all this trouble, he was already hungry, but having sushi without dipping sauce was unbearable for Jack, so he randomly pressed a switch, hoping to get some sauce, but what came out was more sushi. He was speechless. Then he pressed another switch, but the result was the same. No sauce. He really couldn't eat it. Then he tried again, but no matter which switch he pressed, all that came out was sushi. With no alternative, he had to make do. Although there was no sauce, it still tasted pretty good. Soon, he finished the large plate of sushi, yet he still didn't feel full, so he pressed another switch again, and this time it was dipping sauce. This was clearly deliberate. In anger, Jack immediately pressed another switch. This time virtual reality glasses popped out. Out of curiosity, he put them on. Then he saw the truth about the wall, and the secret of the switches. He could hardly believe it. All the switches he'd been pressing were actually a little angel's precious things. He saw the figure pointing in one direction. Next, Jack followed the guidance, and pressed that switch. The next second, the lights in the room turned off, and a huge countdown appeared behind him. All the switches were gradually disappearing. Then he saw an unbelievable sight.
3, 2, 1.
A week passed like this. He still hadn't found the exit, but had finished reading 5 comic books. After finishing the 5th, he wanted to read the 6th, but when he pressed the switch, out came the 7th. No matter which switch Jack pressed, the 6th book wouldn't come out. But when he pressed the 3rd switch, a door appeared behind him. He didn't notice it. By the time he realized, the door had already closed. He wanted to reopen that door, but forgot which switch it was. With no choice, he randomly selected one. This time Jack finally pressed the right one. Although he successfully found the exit, the door would close again as soon as he released the switch, so his time was very limited. He tried several times, running straight there, but found he couldn't make it in time. However, soon, Jack thought of another solution to shorten the distance between himself and the exit. Then he found a rope and tied it to the switch, so he wouldn't have to run so far. After all preparations were ready, he turned and quickly rushed toward the exit, but still couldn't make it in time. This drove Jack completely crazy. The exit was right before his eyes, yet he couldn't leave. In his fury, he brought a pushcart, hoping to use its momentum to propel himself in. Obviously, this method didn't work either. He knew the exit would stay open only if the switch remained pressed, so he needed to find a heavy object. At this point, the large vase served a purpose. Without hesitation, he pressed it down on the switch, but it only lasted a few seconds before the switch pushed it back up. Jack hadn't expected the switch to be so powerful. He had struggled to carry the vase. Now he needed to find a way to increase its weight. Just then, he suddenly remembered the water spraying switch from before, so he quickly pressed it, but unexpectedly the water stream had a tracking system. Wherever he went, it followed. With no choice, he could only slowly guide it into the vase, but after collecting water for a long time, it wasn't even enough to water plants. However, soon, Jack thought of another idea, to fill the entire vase with sushi, to increase its weight. Although this idea was indeed good, he clearly overestimated his strength. The vase's weight increased, but he couldn't lift it. He had to use chopsticks to remove some sushi, and finally managed to lift it. But the switch's position had somehow changed. Jack had no idea which switch led to the exit. With no option, he randomly pressed one. The next second, a black guy came out, and accidentally kicked the vase. Seeing this, Jack was speechless. The man, seeing it wasn't his business, went back, but as soon as he turned to leave, the vase cracked. Jack was completely devastated. He grabbed nearby sushi and began smearing it on the switch, thinking these rice balls could stick to it, but the switch still broke free. Then he brought tape and stuck it firmly, but the result was the same. Seeing that tape didn't work, he brought a metal plate, but it was easily freed. Having tried every method without success, Jack began to think about giving up. Perhaps living here wasn't so bad, with food, drinks, and entertainment. One day he wanted to brush his teeth, but found no toothpaste, so he randomly pressed a switch. The next second, a rope fell from above. This gave him an idea for escape, to use the rope to swing to the exit, and surprisingly it worked. Just when he thought he was about to leave this place, he discovered the door required a key to open. Jack was truly speechless. Then he angrily kicked the nearby wall, and accidentally revealed a key. His hope was rekindled. Unfortunately, that kick was random. Now he didn't know which switch it was. So he could only try opening mystery boxes again. That last incident had truly frightened him. After much mental preparation, he carefully pressed a switch again, but that crazy dog ran out again. After 2 consecutive failures, Jack completely lost his confidence. But to escape, he had to suppress his fear and press another switch. This time he finally chose correctly. To be safe, after noting the direction, he took some sushi and stuck it on the switch as a marker. After doing all this, he eagerly began using the rope to get the key, but clearly the rope wasn't long enough. While he was at a loss, he accidentally saw a plunger. This gave Jack an idea, to first use the plunger's suction to press the switch, then swing over to get the key. After a series of precise operations, he again arrived at the exit. Then without delay, he immediately inserted the key. Upon hearing a crisp click, he shouted with joy, finally able to leave this place. But when he tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. It was a double lock. Besides the bottom one, there was also a combination lock on top. He angrily picked up the plunger from the ground, then angrily threw it, and accidentally summoned that black man. After he left, Jack suddenly realized the numbers on his head were the combination. Then, he quickly used the rope to swing back and forth, finally cracking the combination lock and successfully opening the door. He thought it was the exit, but it turned out to be an even smaller locked room. Not only that, he was caught in the middle by the door. Jack couldn't help but burst into tears, thinking of all his great efforts, yet still unable to escape. Now thinking carefully about before, life opening mystery boxes wasn't so bad. At least he didn't have to worry about water and food, and there were so many fun things. No need to work all day. More importantly, surprises at every moment. Now trapped in this tiny compartment, with nothing inside. Just then, a gentle breeze blew in. He looked incredulously at the wooden board beside him, carefully reaching his hand over. It turned out to be a sliding door. And so, Jack finally escaped from this place. All of this was actually just a dream. Would you like to have such a dream too?